Today's paint was inspired by none other than the beloved robot companion, BB-8. I actually love BB. He's one of my favorite characters out of the Star Wars movies, and I'm going to offend a lot of Star Wars fans, but I'm not gonna sit here and pretend I'm not a fan of the Star Wars movies. I tried, I've watched them all, I'm just not a fan of them. I can't get into them ever since high school year when my teacher pretty much ruined the entire franchise for me with a single sentence. I was like, I can't anymore. Unfortunately, I just can't, and no longer do I enjoy watching them. I love BB so much. What really inspired this paint was the fact that I did a cute little drawing of him. Beautiful. He just came back from adventure, so that's why he's all dirty and muddy, but I wind up doing that sketch of him, and then I was like, you know what, I can turn this into an actual paint. So that is what happened. I also love BB so much that I have a mug of him, which holds all of my paintbrushes in for like canvas paintings and like acrylic paint, which is how I differentiate my paintbrushes. But that is the inspiration for today's paint, and I hope you guys enjoy.
Right, in order to kick off this BB on adventure, I gotta start with a white base. Now, in order to do this white base, I wind up doing about 3 different layers of white. This is because my paint kept mixing and no longer really coming out white. For the last layer, I wind up doing a stamping technique instead of doing brush strokes. This way, some areas become a little bit more white than others, and that way, those areas where the body paint is a little bit more see-through, and you can kind of see my skin tone coming through it, it's gonna look more as if those areas are just naturally a little bit more dirtier. The next step was to go ahead and create BB's little orange circle pattern-like design. At first, I originally wanted to do like a symmetrical, kind of like a shoulder joint situation going on, but when I looked at BB's pattern, it's not necessarily symmetrical, and his pattern is kind of all over the place, so that's what I wind up doing instead. And I'm just going all over with these circles and no rhyme or reason, just anywhere to fill up some space. Now when it comes to the notches inside of the orange circles, however, these are symmetric. So depending on the size and how much of the circle I've painted, I tried to do my best to make it absolutely perfectly symmetrical. Each circle should have, in theory, 4 notches, but like I said before, depending on how much of the circle I've painted, some may only have 2 or some may only have 3. Afterwards, taking black body paint, I'm then doing detail work inside of the orange circles, so creating lines and patterns that are going to make it look more robotic. Now, I am not left-handed, however, this paint really challenged me to start working and doing work with my left hand. So if there are some areas in this paint where it looks a little funny, it looks a little wonky or off, it's because I had to use my left hand in order for it to even look good. And when I say I was struggling, I mean I was struggling on this right shoulder so badly. That's why it looks a little funny, and that line is actually really crooked and jaggedy and wiggly, and I try to fix it by putting another line through it. I don't know how well it looks, but I was not in the mood to take it off and try to re-put it back on, so we just went with it. Now, am I about to use makeup that I absolutely hate? Maybe. But am I also hoping that maybe I potentially use it all so that way I can get rid of it so that way I can buy new paint that I actually like? Also maybe. But our next step is to go ahead and create the illusion of plates. In order to do this, we're going to paint gray lines from one circle to another. This way it gives the illusion that BB is made of different forms of plate. He's not one entire sheet metal, he's a bunch of different sheet metals formed together. I then was too excited to work on this eye that I decided to jump right into it, fully aware that I was not done with the body, but I was excited to try this new technique of doing a glowing red eye, where the eye is black just like BB with the center of it glowing. So I decided to start by just tracing the outline of the eye, and then that's where I stopped because I realized I was not prepared to do that at the moment. I did not really know what it is I was doing, so I jumped back over to the bolts that I needed to put in. This way it gives that illusion once again. The BB is created from multiple plates, so he's bolted down. Then jumped back to the eye for whatever reason, thinking I could do it this time, and started with the stamping method that I did for the white, using a gray on the inside of the eye, and then just making the outside of the eye thicker with that black. Then use that stamping method again, using a bright red and just doing the inside of that black eye I had created, doing it about 2 or 3 times. I then decided to take another break from the eye and move back to my body. This time I'm filling in the inside of those circles that I created using gray, doing big chunks and then doing small little areas of gray in more robotic kind of patterns, so that way it gives that illusion once again that it is more robot-like. Now for my favorite part of this whole paint, which was making it look like BB had just come back from adventure. So what I'm going to do is take an eyeshadow brush and dip into a light brown and just shadow in certain areas, make it look like dirt had pretty much been splattered or smudged or something in areas. And then what I'm going to go do is take a dark brown and go back into areas like the orange and then back into the gray. One of the last things we have to do now is create BB's second eye, which is just a blue ring. I literally just put blue paint around my eye, and then I wind up putting a little bit of black speckles into it, and then going back on top of it with blue to kind of mix into a little bit of a darker royal blue color.